The floating cafe above Eliora Prime was peaceful that day. Aliens from many species sat in round glass booths, enjoying spicy drinks and glowing fruitcakes. Soft music played from the ceiling, and the neon lights changed color every few minutes. Then the human walked in tall, with messy dark hair and a lazy smile. He looked harmless. His name was Jack, and he had no idea his simple lunch would soon cause chaos across the station. The waitress, Rinka, walked over to him. She had light blue skin, 4 fingers, and large purple eyes. Her silver apron flashed gently as she held her notepad. "Welcome to Café Zura," she said, smiling. "First time on Eliora Prime?" Jack nodded and looked at the glowing menu, confused. "Yeah," he replied. "These words, they're moving. Is that normal?" Rinka laughed softly. "Yes, menu dances for first-timers," she said. "Want me to choose something for you?" "Sure," Jack said. "Surprise me." As she walked away, Jack took out his cumpad and started typing something. He didn't notice the small camera above table 9 blinking red. All human activity was being recorded for security reasons. Rinka returned with a blue smoothie and a plate of fried orbo nuts. Jack took a bite and raised his eyebrows. "Wow," he said. "That's weird but tasty." "I'm glad you like it," Rinka said, writing something on her pad. They chatted for a bit, mostly small talk. Then came the sentence that would soon shake the entire station. Rinka asked, "Do all humans eat this kind of food on Earth?" Jack laughed and replied, "No, not really, but I need energy, you know? Especially since I do it like 5 times a day." Rinka blinked. Her smile faded. She stared at him, stunned. "What did you say?" she asked carefully. Jack didn't notice the change in her tone. He casually drank his smoothie and said, 5 times, yeah, sometimes 6 if I'm bored." A deep silence fell around the nearby tables. A Yarghath warrior spilled his soup. A feathered trader gasped and choked on her drink. Someone dropped a fork. 5. Rinka whispered, her cheeks turning a dark shade of green. She took a step back and almost dropped her pad. "You do it 5 times in a single day?" Jack raised an eyebrow, confused. "Yeah," he said. "Is that weird here?" Rinka stared at him like he was a god or a monster. She slowly turned and walked away, looking pale. Jack watched her go, then looked around. All the aliens nearby were watching him in silence. He waved awkwardly. What?" he said. "Did I say something wrong?" He didn't know what they had heard. He meant he exercised 5 times a day. Stretching, small runs, breathing drills. Simple stuff from Earth military training, but to the aliens, doing it had a very different meaning. Some thought he meant combat. Some thought he meant mating. Others believed it was a strange Earth ritual that released energy. Behind the counter, the chef whispered to a security drone. "Keep an eye on table 9, he said. "That human is either dangerous or very strange." Jack, meanwhile, picked up another orbo nut and munched it happily. He still had no clue what just happened. He paid the bill and left a generous tip. "Tell your chef it was awesome," he said as he stood up. No one answered. They just stared. As Jack walked out of the cafe, everyone inside began whispering, 5 times a day. That's not possible. Is that why Earth won the last war? No wonder they dominate every sport. Maybe he's enhanced. And somewhere deep inside the station, the central AI sent a signal to command. Asterisk. The moment Jack left the cafe, whispers followed him like shadows. He smiled at a passing alien couple, but they looked away quickly and hurried off. Jack frowned, confused, but didn't think too much of it. He stretched his arms and looked around the station. Everything still looked normal. Glowing signs, busy walkways, and floating transport pods buzzing through the air. But under the surface, everything had already changed. Inside Café Jura, the waitress Rinka leaned against a wall, her heart racing. She had served all kinds of beings, insectoid generals, slime diplomats, even the jelly monks of Thren 4. But never had someone said something so casually terrifying, 5 times a day. She wasn't even sure what he meant anymore, but the others in the cafe had their own ideas. A large reptilian guard whispered to a worker, "Maybe it's how humans prepare for battle." "No," said the worker. "I heard it's a mating thing. Their species is wild." Another chimed in. "Could be a mental weapon. They release pressure that often to stay focused." Everyone was guessing, and no one knew the truth. Within hours, the rumor traveled beyond the cafe. A security drone picked it up and added a note to Jack's station file. "Potentially unstable, monitor behavior at the market sector." A fish-like vendor heard about the human. He shook his fins in fear. "They don't sleep. They don't rest, and now they do that 5 times daily?" Next booth over, someone added, "No wonder Earth grew so fast in the galactic charts." The idea spread quickly. Humans were not just fast learners. They were supercharged monsters. Jack, meanwhile, wandered into a local tech shop. He needed a charger for his translator pad. He asked the shopkeeper politely, but the old alien barely looked at him. Instead, he handed Jack the device while keeping his distance. Jack blinked. Okay, thanks." As he walked away, the shopkeeper sent a private message to the station's central security feed. "The human is active, and he looks energized, far above, in the observation ring." Commander Reltran watched the security feeds. He was old, wise, and usually calm. But this human worried him. He replayed the footage from Cafe Zira 3 times. Jack's words were clear, and Rinka's reaction told him this wasn't just a cultural slip-up. He turned to his science officer. "Run a background check on him." "But sir," the officer said. "It could be just humor." Reltran shook his head. "No one jokes." About 5 times a day on Eliora Prime, the science officer sighed and began searching Earth's human databases. At the same time, a group of curious aliens formed a secret club. They called themselves the 5 Watchers. Their mission, observe the human and report everything he does. They followed him into a bookstore, into a transit pod, even into a botanical garden. One member swore he saw Jack close his eyes and power up. In truth, Jack was just yawning. Later that day, Jack sat on a bench, tired. He looked at the beautiful starfield beyond the station dome. He felt peaceful. Even though something felt a little off, everyone was acting weird, too quiet, too careful. A small creature peeked from behind a pillar and quickly ran off. Another group turned away the moment he stood up. "Maybe I smell bad," Jack muttered, sniffing his shirt. Back at his rented room, he turned on the shower and hummed to himself. Outside his door, a small recording device was floating silently. It was scanning his movements, tracking his heart rate. The station had officially labeled him a high-interest subject. At that same moment, far away in the central core of Eliora Prime, a glowing message appeared on a dark screen. Subject, human male status, under observation. Reason, claim to perform unusual action 5 times daily. Potential threat or hidden ability. Send to council for evaluation. And as Jack dried his hair with a towel, completely unaware, the wheels of misunderstanding turned faster. The Queen had been notified. The council had begun its watch. And the next time Jack stepped outside, his simple walk would feel very different. He was now the most whispered about being on the station, and he still had no idea why. Jack woke up the next morning, feeling refreshed. He stretched, yawned, and made a cup of synth coffee. Outside his room, the hallway was quiet, but not peaceful. Something about the silence felt thick, like the air was listening. He shrugged and grabbed his jacket. Today, he planned to visit the science dome and maybe try that glowing orange drink again. As he walked, 3 maintenance bots passed by and then paused behind him. One of them blinked red. Hidden inside its eye was a high-level scanner lens. Elsewhere, in the station, deep under the command center, a group of elite observers sat in a dark room. They were watching Jack's vitals level. Pulse steady, heart rate low, muscles slightly overcharged. One officer pointed at the screen. "Is that normal?" "For a human." The science chief didn't answer. She zoomed in on the numbers. According to Earth records, she said, "No, it's not." They had used stealth tech to scan Jack's body while he slept. But the results were strange. His cells seemed to regenerate faster than most known species. His hormone patterns looked like he had just completed intense training, even though he had done nothing all night. Commander Reltran stood behind them, arms crossed. He stared at the screen. "So, the rumor is true," he said slowly. "He is enhanced." "No," the science chief replied. "He's not enhanced, he's just human." Everyone looked at her, confused. She continued. "Their bodies work differently. They eat strange things. They heal fast. They adapt. They're unpredictable. But 5 times? One officer whispered. "Maybe 6, another added nervously, back at the station dome. Jack was walking through the biogarden. He smiled as he passed glowing flowers and floating pollen bubbles. He saw a large alien reading a book upside down and a group of tiny creatures meditating on a rock. None of them looked at him directly. They only glanced sideways, then whispered. Jack scratched his head. "Why is everyone acting like I'm radioactive?" He sat on a bench and pulled out a small Earth snack, a protein bar with peanut butter and banana flavor. He took one bite, and the moment he did, a soft ping echoed from the bushes. Another scan. Inside a secret lab below the science sector, a new report printed on glowing paper. Subject shows signs of constant high metabolism, unlikely to be a standard human. Possibly a new Earth soldier type. A translator AI reviewed the data. Comparing it with Earth military records, it found a match. Jack had once trained with a unit known for extreme routine discipline. They trained 5 times a day. Rain or shine, war or peace. The I didn't understand context, so it concluded this was a standard behavior. Moments later, the report landed on the desk of the royal liaison. She gasped and dropped her drink. Her antennae twitched wildly as she sent an emergency message to the Queen's chamber. "He is real, Your Grace. The human from the stories, the one who can do it 5 times a day." The Queen read the message in silence. She leaned back on her throne, her long golden robes flowing like liquid. "So," she whispered, "the prophecy wasn't a myth after all. Bring him to me." Meanwhile, Jack had entered a public restroom. As he washed his hands, he caught sight of a small red light in the corner of the mirror. It blinked once, then vanished. Jack narrowed his eyes. "What the heck is going on?" he muttered. "Is someone spying on me?" He stepped outside and bumped into a small alien with 3 eyes and a nervous smile. "Excuse me," the alien said. "Are you Jack from Earth?" Jack hesitated. "Yeah, why?" Before the alien could answer, a group of tall, armored guards surrounded them. They moved in silently, placing a soft stasis net around Jack. He struggled, but the net didn't hurt him. It only froze his movement gently. "Hey, what is this?" he shouted. One of the guards replied calmly, "You've been summoned by the Queen of Aliora Prime. She wishes to speak to you in person." Jack blinked. "The Queen?" "Yes," the guard said. "It's about your Earth skills." As the guards carried him into a glowing pod, Jack's mind spun in confusion. He had no idea why the Queen wanted to see him. He had no idea the entire station had scanned him, watched him, and feared him. And he still didn't know that one simple sentence had turned him into a galactic mystery. Asterisk, the royal chamber of Aliora Prime was carved from crystal mined in the deepest moon caves. Its walls shimmered like water, glowing softly with every breath of the Queen. She sat still on her floating throne, her golden eyes fixed on the holoscreen before her. The image of Jack, sitting on a park bench and eating a protein bar, filled the space like a holy vision. The Queen had lived 500 cycles. She had seen wars, peace talks, and strange creatures from forgotten stars. But this was different. This was the human behind her. Royal advisors whispered nervously, "He doesn't look dangerous." One said, "Exactly," replied another. "That's what makes him dangerous." A young messenger entered. Head low, Your Grace, he said. The human has been collected and is being brought here now. The queen didn't respond right away. She simply whispered, "Let him speak freely. We must learn how Earth has bred such creatures." The royal guards carried Jack into the chamber, floating gently inside a stasis bubble. He looked around, wide-eyed, unsure if this was an arrest, an award, or a dinner invitation. One thing was certain, it was the fanciest room he'd ever seen. The queen raised a hand and the bubble lowered. Jack stepped out, stumbling a little. He rubbed the back of his neck and chuckled. Hi, he said. "Cool room. Are you the queen or like her assistant?" Gasps echoed across the hall. One guard dropped his weapon in shock. The queen simply smiled. "You may call me whatever makes you comfortable." Human. Jack relaxed a bit and looked around. "So, can I ask what's going on?" "One minute I'm eating nuts in a cafe. Next minute I'm being scanned like a bag of fruit." The queen leaned forward slightly. "We received reports of your daily abilities," Jack blinked. "My what now?" She nodded slowly. "You said you do it 5 times a day." "Oh no," Jack said, eyes widening. "That again. I meant stretching, exercising, maybe jogging. It's just a routine." Silence filled the chamber like a thick fog. The queen's advisors looked at each other, unsure. Was this a cover-up? Was it code? Was he lying to protect Earth secrets? The queen tilted her head. "We are not fools, human. We've seen your scans. Your body chemistry, your regeneration rate." Jack raised both hands. "Listen, I'm just healthy, okay? I do push-ups, squats, and drink a lot of water. It's not a galactic secret." A small spherical drone floated near him, blinking as it analyzed his words. Suddenly, it glitched, misinterpreting squats as force compression rituals, and water as liquid life boost. The drone's voice spoke out loud. "Subject confirms ritual power training involving energy bursts and life boosters 5 times daily." Jack turned toward it. "What?" "No, that's not what I—" Too late. The queen stood from her throne, her robe floating around her like solar wind. "Amazing," she whispered. "You truly are the one." Jack's jaw dropped. "The one what?" The queen stepped closer. "For generations, our people believed Earth humans were a wild species with no order, no balance. But now I see. You live with discipline beyond our understanding, to perform inner cleansing and physical control 5 times a day. It's a sign of power, not madness." Jack blinked fast. "Inner cleansing?" No, I just don't like being stiff after breakfast." She raised a hand to silence him. "We must learn your ways," she said. "You will teach my guards, my scholars, and maybe me." Jack looked around the hall, at the guards now nodding in respect, at the advisors writing down everything he said, at the queen, her eyes glowing with curiosity and admiration. He rubbed his temples. "Okay," he muttered. "This is either a dream or I've accidentally started a new religion." Behind him, a large banner was being prepared. "Welcome, Jack the Disciplined, bringer of the 5. And so in a chamber filled with silent awe, Jack stood helpless, the center of a myth he never meant to create. A human with basic habits, mistaken for a master of power. And the galaxy would never see him the same way again, asterisk. The room was made of smooth black stone that shimmered like oil under light. It wasn't a prison, but it didn't feel like a guest room either. Jack sat in the middle on a soft cushion, hands on his knees, staring at 3 glowing alien faces. In front of him, one was a muscle-bound general with crystal armor. The second looked like a floating jellyfish with eyes made of fire. And the third, a translator cube that hovered silently, recording everything. Jack scratched his head. "So, am I under arrest or something?" The general slammed his fist on the table, which made no sound but caused a light tremor in the floor. "You will tell us what it means, human," he said. "The 5. Jack blinked. "You guys are still on that?" The jellyfish wiggled slightly and whispered, You performed 5 energy control sessions a day. This is confirmed. I told you already. Jack said. I just stretch, drink water, do a little breathing, nothing special. The I-Cube chirped. Subject downplays technique, likely Earth security training. Jack frowned. Excuse me, what? That's not even close. Suddenly, a small robot entered carrying a plate of strange-looking fruits. Refreshment, it said, placing them gently beside Jack. He picked one up and sniffed it, then shrugged and took a bite. The moment he did, the jellyfish gasped. He consumes fuel mid-interrogation, it whispered. He draws power from tension. Jack coughed, nearly choking on the slimy bite. No, I was just hungry, he muttered, wiping his mouth. The general stood up, pacing around him slowly. Your body shows increased cell activity, healing, stable nerves. No soldier from any known race could repeat such performance. 5 times in one rotation. Jack threw his hands up. That's because I'm not a soldier. I'm just a guy who likes to feel good and not be stiff all the time. The I-Cube glowed red for a second. Possible deception, it announced. Reanalyzing previous behavior logs. It played a hollow recording of Jack stretching in the garden, then jogging in place while waiting for a transport pod, then lifting a crate of fruit to help a struggling merchant. Each moment, when viewed out of context, looked like secret training. Oh, for the love of pancakes, Jack said, slapping his forehead. You think I'm some kind of Earth ninja or something? The jellyfish floated closer. We don't know what a ninja is, it said. But you're clearly hiding the full method. Jack leaned back, tired now. He knew nothing he said would change their minds. They wanted him to be special, powerful, superhuman. He wasn't any of those things. Just a regular Earth guy stuck in the weirdest misunderstanding in galactic history. Just then, the door hissed open. A tall female figure walked in, the Queen's personal advisor, wrapped in gold and silver cloth. She gave Jack a gentle nod and addressed the others. Enough, she said. His energy patterns remain calm, even under pressure. That alone proves he is worthy. Jack stood up. Worthy of what? The advisor smiled. Of teaching the Queen's elite guard. Jack took a step back. Wait. No, I never agreed to anything. The I-Cube floated closer. Request confirmed. Human will now instruct royal forces in the way of the 5. Jack stared at the ceiling like the answers might be hidden there. He whispered to himself. Why didn't I just say I read books 5 times a day? Outside the room, word was already spreading. The human had survived interrogation, remained calm, resisted fear, and even ate strange alien fruit mid-questioning. To many, he was no longer just powerful, he was enlightened. Meanwhile, back in his room, Jack sat quietly on the floor. He looked at the fruit plate beside him and muttered, maybe if I eat 7 times a day, they'll promote me to a god. And far above the station, hidden satellites from other species began turning their attention toward Iliora Prime. Everyone wanted to meet the human who trained 5 times daily, ate alien fuel without flinching, and never cracked under pressure. But Jack, deep down, just wanted to go home, far above Iliora Prime, on a hidden moon behind the twin suns. The Galactic Council held an emergency session. The room was shaped like a spiral galaxy, with glowing seats arranged in perfect orbits. Every major species had sent a representative, some in cloaks, some in armor, others in shimmering clouds of gas. At the center floated the Council's master orb, a crystal intelligence that tracked all potential threats. Today, it pulsed red for the first time in 30 years. The message was short but loud. Human male on Iliora Prime demonstrates advanced physical discipline. Species-level concern advised. The Silurian delegate raised 3 eyes. Is this another Earth experiment? The insectoid speaker from Clax 9 hissed. No, this one seems natural, a voice from the mist replied. That makes it worse. Meanwhile, on Earth, inside a plain government office buried beneath Mount Snowfall, a red alert pinned on a dusty screen. Agent Monroe nearly choked on his sandwich. The file said, Jack Madison under observation by Galactic royalty, rumored to have 5 times a day ABILIDI. He hit the emergency call button. We've got a situation, he said. They think Jack's something he's not. Back on Eliora Prime, Jack stood in a garden with 20 alien soldiers in armor. They stood in rows, holding strange weapons, waiting for their first lesson. Jack held a small towel and bottle of water. He looked at them. Then at the Queen's advisor. You sure you want me to lead this? He asked. She nodded without hesitation. Begin the sacred cycle, she said. The 5. Jack cleared his throat. All right then, he said slowly. Stretch your arms like this. He lifted both arms above his head and leaned side to side. The soldiers followed, some wobbling, others grunting. To them, it looked like a ritual to balance energy flow. Now reach for your toes, Jack said. A few guards fell over. One gasped like he had seen a vision. The advisor whispered to her assistant. His movements awaken old muscles. He is reshaping them with just gestures. Jack, sweating now, tried to keep it going. Okay, now 10 push-ups, he said, dropping to the floor. He finished easily, but when he looked up, half the guards were frozen in awe, and the other half were passed out. From the palace tower, a priest watched through long-range vision. He turned and wrote in his book, "The earth one pushes against the ground and the ground yields." Meanwhile, above the station, the Galactic Council broadcasted a high-priority alert. Earth human may be physically superior, cultural misunderstanding possible but unconfirmed. Advise caution when approaching. Earth's ambassador to Eliora, a calm woman named Dr. Amelia Graves, arrived that same hour. She found Jack in a cold room, holding a wet towel over his forehead. He looked up as she walked in and groaned. Please tell me you're here to rescue me. She smiled and sat down. Jack, what did you tell them? I just said I do it 5 times a day, Jack replied. Exercise, water, stretching, normal stuff. Amelia blinked. Oh no, she whispered. Jack. In many alien cultures that phrase means something very different. Jack dropped his head onto the table. I figured that out around the 3rd security scan. She sighed and opened her case. We'll clear it up, but until then, you're the most feared and admired human in the quadrant. Great, Jack mumbled. Can I at least get breakfast without a drone following me? Outside, the Queen's court was preparing for a massive festival in his honor. Banners with his face lined the sky bridges, each one with the words, Jack the Disciplined, Master of the 5, and above all that, dozens of spy satellites from other alien empires aimed their cameras at him. Not for war, not for peace, but because they all wanted to know how one human could do it 5 times a day without exploding. The truth didn't matter anymore. The legend had already grown asterisk. The celebration began before the truth could catch up. Glowing banners flew high above Eliora Prime, dancing in artificial wind. Crowds gathered near the floating plaza where music echoed from crystal towers. They had come to honor the man who, by rumor and misunderstanding, had become more than just human. Jack stood behind the curtains, still wearing simple pants and a loose shirt. His face showed calm on the outside, but inside, his thoughts were spinning faster than a warp engine. He looked at Ambassador Amelia, who stood beside him with a tight smile. They're going to give you a medal, she said softly. A medal, Jack repeated. For doing stretches and drinking water, she nodded. They call it universal balance training now. Jack peeked through the curtain. A giant statue of himself had been raised in the center of the plaza. It showed him with one arm flexed and the other holding a water bottle like a sacred relic. He stepped back, rubbing his face. This all started because I said one dumb sentence. They don't want facts, Amelia said. They want meaning, just. Then, the Queen's advisor entered with a scroll made of shining gold thread. She bowed low. The council has spoken, she said. They wish to offer you a role. Jack stared at her. A role? She unrolled the scroll. Galactic Harmony Ambassador, Speaker of Balance, Defender of the Five. Jack looked at Amelia, then back at the scroll. You want me to teach stretching to aliens? Not just stretching, the advisor said. Inspire discipline, spread calmness, share Earth's wisdom. He blinked slowly. You know this is all a misunderstanding, right? She nodded. Yes, but it's a useful one. Jack laughed once. It was tired and full of disbelief. He walked to the stage entrance, ready to face the thousands waiting outside. Behind him, Amelia sighed. Whatever happens, she said, just don't say anything new. Jack stepped into the light. Cheers exploded across the station. Drones flew in patterns above, forming his face in glowing blue lines. He waved awkwardly, then whispered to himself, I swear, next time, I'm just going to say I sleep 5 times a day. The Queen approached, holding the silver medal of unity. She placed it around his neck and smiled. Your quiet strength changed us, she said. Jack opened his mouth to reply, but then stopped. He simply bowed his head. Thank you, he said, for the food. The crowd took it as deep wisdom. They repeated the phrase in unison, for the food. Later that day, Jack sat on a small shuttle preparing to leave the station. His new title had opened job offers across 3-star systems. Universities wanted lectures, warrior guilds wanted training sessions. Even luxury spas wanted his methods. He looked out the window at the stars. Crazy, he whispered. All this because I like to stay in shape. Amelia handed him a tablet. Earth approved the ambassador role, she said. You'll travel, speak, and correct misunderstandings where you can, Jack grinned. Can I bring snacks? She smiled. You better. As the shuttle left the orbit of Eliora Prime, the AI speaker echoed through the cabin. Next stop, Terrak 4, home of the Fireblood monks. They await the human master of the 5. Jack leaned back, eyes closed. Next time, he whispered, I'm telling them I meditate once a week, and so. The man who only wanted a quiet snack in space became a legend. Not by power, not by war, but by misunderstanding, timing, and a really strong metabolism. Across the galaxy, they would whisper about him for generations. Jack, the calm one, the Earthborn master, the 5 times a day miracle. And not once would they ever believe it was all just stretching and water. Asterisk.